Now, US President Trump is on his way out and his successor is preparing to take over. Experts are wondering, though, what will remain of Trump's policies? Take trade, for example, especially trade with China. Central to Trump's America First approach were policies to reduce the US's trade deficit with China. He introduced tariffs on $360 billion worth of Chinese-made products, but that seems to have failed in its aim. In November, China's global trade surplus skyrocketed to over $75 billion. Most of that was led by the US, where exports to the US were up 46% on a year ago in November. The main reason for that is, of course, the coronavirus pandemic. With many Americans stuck at home, record amounts are being spent on a huge range of Chinese products. Meanwhile, American exports to China have improved, but only slightly. Agricultural products have sold well, but manufactured items have been badly hit by the pandemic. So let's discuss this with Laura von Daniels from the German Institute for International and Security Affairs, SWP. Welcome to DW Business. Great to have you on the programme. So it goes against Donald Trump's stated aims, this increased deficit. But is it actually a problem for the United States?
Yes, it is a problem in terms of improving the trade balance, because at least that's what's been promised to Americans for more than 4 years now. And yeah, you might say that raging a trade war against China and even reaching something like the Phase 1 trade agreement with China earlier this year in February didn't really improve anything about the trade balance. So maybe that wasn't the right metric to begin with.
How much can governments actually do, though? Because in this case, we've seen that consumers have essentially had the final say.
That's true. Maybe they cannot do so much about it after all. As I said before, raging a trade war didn't really change the situation. And well, some people say this is just the consequence of the pandemic, because people started to use their extra liquidity, not for services as they usually do, for travel and so on, but they put it in, they channeled it to consumer goods more than they would have otherwise. But, you know, this has been a trend for more than this year, so it's been going on for a while. So, you know, the question really is how much a government can steer trade relations.
Yes,
not so much, I would say.
Yeah, exactly. It's can this current trend last, really? So we've got President-elect Biden taking office next month. Do we know if he's got a radically different approach to China?
Well, he's been critical of China. He's criticized its theft of intellectual property and his China's subsidies policy and other difficult areas in trade relations. But you might as well see him trying to reach some kind of rapprochement with the Chinese, I think. It's probably among the possible options to see the US negotiate over at least limited trade agreement with China again, and to rebuild relations that were harmed by the Trump administration, seriously harmed.
All right, Laura von Daniels from the German Institute for International and Security Affairs. Thank you very much for joining us here on DW Business.
Thanks for having me.